Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Speaking Legally, where the legal meets the cultural. We're so excited that you're here and that we can have this time and conversation together. We are in our second season, so it's wonderful that we can be able to share with you what's happening in real time in the world we've been living in. We started this journey together in the midst of the unforeseen, unprecedented COVID-19. We've been riding with you ever since, giving you background insight from our legal experts on everything that we have been witnessing. And we appreciate your participation in the show, your commentary, your remarks, your messages that you send, that we know that this information is valuable to you. It has educated you. Sometimes it's caused a little bit of anger because of the things that we're witnessing in real time. But the good news is you're armed with information. And when you apply that information, it becomes beneficial to you, your families, and our communities. So let me go ahead and let our co-host welcome you. And then we're going to get into a packed show. A lot going on. Some of the items that we touched on last week, I'll highlight before we get into the first part of our discussion. But over to you, Mr. Royce Russell, Esquire.
First, I want to warn everybody that if you see my partner disappear and you see a fist banging on his window, he is not getting arrested. He is at the airport, right? And you know how sometimes the airport police can be very aggressive when you have your car parked in a certain area. So I don't want you to have any fear for him because he's looking quite suspicious as I'm watching him on the camera, look around to the left and the right. So he must be anticipating how this is going to go down. Remember, cardiac arrest, brother. Remember, cardiac arrest, all right? Tactical guy. But welcome to the show. In New York City, big election night. So we're going to expound and talk about that. And as Dr. Grant has told me to warn you guys that we know that we teased on the last episode about the COVID litigation. And if we can get to it, we will. If not, we definitely want to stay local and stay with what we consider very game-changing elections that have taken place. And you know, anybody who's been watching this show and knows about what do they call that new balloting? What is that? Next man up, best man up. What is that? Rank choice voting that we know that we right now we don't have a winner. We just have who we think is going to win, and a little bit more concrete. A little bit more concrete, right?
Yeah, appreciate your commentary. All right, now we're going to go over to Senor Edward Picharo, Esquire. You want to greet the family?
I dare him to say something different. Is the best man up, batting, voting. Good.
Hey, listen, everybody. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. I'm here at the airport awaiting the arrival of my children. So I'm going to more than likely have to leave soon. I concur with my guests. You know, we have a lot to cover. We had a very exciting day yesterday. It was a very interesting moment inside of the ballot box. I will reveal to the audience as well as my co-host that I actually, during the process of filling out my ballot, I actually made a mistake.
No, see, that's shit. That's shit.
But I quickly alerted the poll watcher that I had made a mistake, and they promptly gave me a brand new ballot, and I was able to go forward from there.
You're one of our most articulated brothers. You're one of our.
It wasn't hard at all. It was just the newness, and you know that happens. I think it's great. I think it makes for a more robust democracy. And looking at some of these results, I saw one race that had about 15 candidates. I mean, it's beautiful to me. Democracy can be complicated and difficult, but when people truly have a choice and multiple individuals get to an opportunity to run, I think it makes it worth it.
Well, all I can say is that you're one of the more humbling and articulated voters out there. So you might have said, "Uh-oh, I made a mistake," but you know that you can exponentially put down how many people are not as humble, won't ask for directions, would rather drive around in a circle, just put down what they put down and keep it moving. And that's what I am afraid of. And even with you, with the newness and all the stuff that you have underneath your helmet, in between them ears, it ain't nothing like riding that bike for the first time. Just like, yikes. I know it was fast, but I didn't know it was that fast. And a crash is bound to happen.
Oh boy, here we go.
Let's hope for the best.
Let's hope for the best. Ranked choice voting. It happened. We all had our issues around how much we took the time to educate New York City on how to utilize the process. They put a lot of money behind educating everyone on what to do. So you had the choice of ranking your top person. You didn't have to rank the other four. And if you did, that you did it properly. So you didn't put everything in a line because your ballot would be disqualified. So I hope that the majority of New Yorkers were like Senor Pichardo and they asked for a new ballot if they made a mistake, because the numbers are what the numbers are, because the machines, which
I can just see. I'm sorry, I broke out. I can see it now. Somebody online, yo, man, hurry up, man! Like, just put down 1 through 5. What's taking you so long? Like, is a list? Hurry up! Like, what you doing? You got to get another one? Yo, I got to go to work. Come on, man! I got the kids to get out. You getting another sheet? Oh my God, we're never going to hear about that. We're never going to hear about that.
We won't, unless some of the poll workers and the staffing, they talk and tell the stories. It was interesting in there. I had one of our seniors in the community ask me for instructions. I don't know. I looked like I knew what I was doing. I was busy filling out my form, and she's asking me like I worked at the site. So I had
the show.
Yeah, she thought I was running things, but I'm like, I'm just filling out my ballot. But I took the time to explain to her, you always have to be kind to our elders. And she got some additional assistance. I had to call one of the workers over and I said, our senior needs some help. So she was able, but what was so funny, she got the explanation. They told her what to do. She came right back to me while I was filling out the form. I'm like, oh Lord, I hope that people were patient with our elders with this process, because for them, 2 pieces of paper, they're not just voting for one person, they're ranking people. So it could have been very overwhelming for them. So I really hope that everyone was extended the same grace that I gave this woman and the staffers in our particular election site. So that being said, we'll see how this all turns out. But one of the most watched races in the country. So this is not just in New York City. This is in the country. Everybody's looking at how this turns out, because the mayor of New York City is a crucial and critical part of how we see leadership across the country. So for Eric Adams to be the forerunner is significant. For Maya Wiley to be the next person is significant. So there's 2 people of color that are the front runners in this race. And then Catherine Garcia, while she is not a person of color, she married and has that last name. She is the 3rd person with the highest numbers to date. So I wonder,
Dr. Grant, can I interject here? You stated what is on our screen, and hopefully everybody can view that. But if we read in between the lines and around the lines, Paper Boy Love Prince came in at 0.43. That is damn close to Raymond J. McGuire at 2.31. And the difference in presentation is immense. And then Sean Donovan, every time I got up in the morning on Channel 4, there was some black man saying how they adopted him and how he came into the community. He wanted to be a mentor, and Obama's picture plastered all next to him. 2.16. Isaac Wright, formerly incarcerated, 2.24%. I mean, like, for a person that did not have the media behind them, had a story to tell. Same thing with Paperboy loved Prince, to garnish almost 1%. When somebody who spent time and money has 2%, there's a lot to be said. There's a
whole lot to be said. And good
of ranked choice voting. There's a lot to be said, because that 0.43 for Paperboy loved Prince, was that everybody from the block that got him that? And then for, Isaac Wright, was that everybody that he's representing?
Yeah, you gotta have something for the block, baby.
Oh my Lord. Well, I bet Paperboy Love Prince came out to a Juneteenth celebration, was giving out information. So look, that's what democracy, Mr. Pichardo, you talked about democracy and what it affords individuals to be able to do. And hey, Kevin, hey, John, hey, TD, hey, Robert, thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate you. Quick question. Mr. Thorborn says, what kind of lawsuits do you expect during the post-election process related to mail-in ballots?
Many, because right now, Eric Adams is not necessarily the winner. He's just in the lead. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, if he's in the lead with 31 and he's going about his business, and next thing you know, tomorrow he wakes up and that 31 is still at 31, and mayor-elect or candidate Wiley jumps from 22, there's going to be problems.
I think, quite frankly, what's going to happen is that if I understand it correctly, they're gonna look at the postmark of the mail-ins, and as long as they're postmarked within the allowed time period, along with what they have thus far received, those are going to get counted no matter what. That would have been the case in any other election, and based on the number and the percentage by which the lead candidate is winning by will determine whether or not there'll be a full count of those. The real issue here that's going to be delaying the results in this election is the fact that if, say, Eric Adams doesn't get that 50%, then they then go through the ranked choice process of counting, second choice and the like to see who gets to that 50% margin. And they're saying that we're not going to get that result till next month, July. To a certain degree, I'm not understanding why, unless they mean next week or the week after, and why the computer software, I believe, that was approved by the Board of Elections about, I guess, a month ago, isn't going to be able to tabulate those results much faster. So,
no, I think July means July. I think July.
No, I've been hearing the second week in July. That's
look. If they knew for sure,
I'm gonna have to go.
Okay.
I'll see everyone. Sorry, but I'll definitely catch up with you guys next week for sure. Right?
All right.
No problem. And be safe and enjoy your children.
Well. Make sure you get pulled over.
Yes. So before you go, Mr. Russell. So, hey, Richard, great to see you. Wayne is cracking me up. Wayne said he needed voting for dummies. He voted for his pick straight across the board. He refused to check off anybody else's name, and the machine snitched on him. I had to do it over and check just one candidate and leave the rest blank.
And let's speak to 1A, and then we speak to Wayne. And thank you, Wayne, for joining in and listening, because this is powerful information, and I would like for you to spread it on, and we go way, way back. Let me just give some credit to Wayne. Is the originator of the term. You better read something before you better read something before you need something. So I've clipped that from him and used that when it comes down to cardiac arrest. So I want to give him credit, so we don't have any litigation in the future. Wayne trying to come after me, because he retired, he ain't got nothing else to do. You know what I'm saying? So we'll put that on the burner. But of course, there's going to be litigation because we're in the era of litigation. If we learn something from the 45th president, you go down fighting. Go down fighting. If you think it's worth it, go down fighting. So I advocate for litigation. If you think you're in the right, test all the tests that you can. No more, oh, I lost, and just walk with your tail between your legs, keep on going. Test it. Now, what also gives the room in the air for litigation, lawsuits, as Kevin brought up, is that we have something new. And we have one of our own experts who says, like, hey, look, you know what? I got tripped up for a minute. Stories like that is going to empower people that are losers to think that they may have something there. And so therefore they go ahead and they want to press it because they got money and they got time. And so why not press it? Then number 3, you have what Wayne has said, right? There are folks that did the across or did the up or did the down or did whatever. And people at the polls or the machine may have caught it, but then may not. And with all this early voting that we're now participating in and becoming used to and starting to use that to our advantage, there's still squeaky doors and squeaky chairs, and you can't think but not that the loser's going to say, wait a minute, what happened here?
Absolutely. Well, the thing about it, the machine will catch all of those errors when people did go across or they didn't circle in or bubble in. The machine will capture that for the most part. But what I'm more concerned about are the people who were in Ed's position where you made a mistake and you didn't say anything, to your point.
Yes, yeah.
Go in and then, so it's so many variables. What I am grateful for is that we were not in the situation where they didn't have the machines, because that's where we were just a couple of months ago. And they were going to attempt to pull this off in New York City with no electronic way of calculating these votes for the first round. That would have been an absolute disaster. So
Now,
at least we got here.
And let me speak to the numbers, right? I'm going to take the numbers and I have to look at those numbers and look at what I've seen, right? And I think it's important that we talk about that, because sometimes it's not all about having the money. A lot of times it can be, but I think Paperboy Love Prince showed that sometimes it is not. Scott Stringer, 5%.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he spent a lot.
That's the former controller.
Yeah.
Like he's in the mix. Everybody knows his name. He's in the mix. 5%. You know, I don't know Diane Morales, 2.78%. I'm just saying that folks are out here in the community doing things that people like. Somebody liked. It wasn't all friends and homeboys of Isaac Wright or Paperboy Love Prince. There were some people that thought that his ideas made sense, whatever they were. Right? Whatever they were. I mean, Art Chang was in there running around, and look, his numbers are not as that significant over Paperboy Love Prince. And I keep on saying these names because there was a lot to do about Ray McGuire, Wiley, and you know, Garcia and Adams. And I think what you see, at least by the ranked choice voting, one of the things that we can take away is that the community is speaking. And so I back Ed on that. And you never know what could happen.
You never know. And the write-in, there was 17% of write-ins. So who knew? Somebody might have written your name in, Mr. Russell.
Yeah, right. Isn't that something, right?
Well, let's move from the mayoral race, because that wasn't the only one. We had a lot of activity going on yesterday all across the city, and a very historic competition is still in play, and that is for the district attorney. So let's go to that summary of where we are with the Manhattan district attorney. And Alvin Bragg Jr. is leading right now, which would be the second African-American male district attorney.
Actually, the third.
The third for Manhattan.
Yeah. Well, the third
for Manhattan.
in the city of New York.
Third in the city, but the first for Manhattan.
Right, correct.
And so that is very significant. He is followed by Weinstein.
They say by 4 points he's in the lead. So that means we have all the write-ins and all the paper, by mail, early voting, all that stuff. So you never know what's going to be the outcome. But right now, and that would be in any system. I mean, this election is not ranked choice. This is just straight up, you got one choice, right? And so I don't want people to think that this is part of that new system. But you don't know. But what I would say to that is that a couple of things. One is that, as you said, we had the originator, which was Robert Johnson in the Bronx. I worked for him, and he was an innovator. That's right. He was an innovator. Then you have Eric Garcia, right? Actually, you had Ken Thompson. You had Ken Thompson, right? And I went to law school with him, and he and I go way, way back since, Co-op City, your old stomping grounds, in the projects, my old stomping ground, St. Mary's. And a shout out to Terry Moses, because he's related to Terry Moses, and he grew up in a building across from me, Ken Thompson. So you had Ken Thompson, then you have Darcel Clark, right? And in between there, you have Eric Gonzalez, right? So those are 4 people of color. You have a woman. And then we could stretch out to Queens, right? Queens have Melissa. What's Queens?
Melinda Katz.
Katz, right? Melinda Katz out in Queens, a woman, right? So we see diversity, gender-wise. We, as far as people of color is concerned, we are now in positions, if this holds through, to rewrite justice. I'm very kind of bam when it comes to the Bronx. I don't see how justice is being rewritten there, especially when the DA couldn't take a position in the heat of George Floyd as to state her position, to galvanize her prosecutors to do one thing or the other, stay the course or be outraged but still be professional. Eric Gonzalez always gets a thumbs up for me, because he's thinking, he's trying. I see him doing, right? And now we have another space and place to see if Alvin Bragg can come in and do some things. I mean, he's from Harlem. I mean, he knows the deal. He went to Harvard, and so from Harlem to Harvard, to the House, what we doing?
And, John made a point here. He said having ran in several union elections, he finds it unlikely that elections are rigged, considering there are ways to represent from both sides overseeing the count. I dare anyone to tell the elections it could be rigged, except for the counters were paid off and ballots were not mailed to certain people. So that is a point of consideration. And thanks for tuning in, as always, John. So yeah, this would be pretty major if Alvin Bragg does indeed seal the deal as the first African-American district attorney in Manhattan. That will be major, but that was not the only thing.
You better be ready, because people are coming and they're going to expect certain things. They're going to want to see a different type of justice, and he better be ready to bring that.
Exactly. So, keep your eyes on the mayoral race, on this race, but then we also had the city comptroller, which I thought was really interesting. Because I was like, wow, I saw what some of the percentage points were for some of these individuals, and I'm like, whoo, Brad Lander just okay. That's all I think, it was okay.
I'm not surprised by that, because Brad's feet has been in the street, right? If you're going to use police misconduct as a bridging to garner votes, when you look at who's on that list there, who's on that list, the person that pops out the most that you can have a sense of allegiance to, who's been, at least as far as I'm concerned, in cases that I've dealt with, who's been in the forefront, standing to the left and to the right of me, who says, I'm running late. Hey, Royce, can I say a couple of words because I'm outraged as a white male? Let me say a couple of things, and I'm with you. And I look at that list. There's some people of color that weren't standing to the left or the right of me. And now I am not the biggest thing since sliced bread, but I am a piece of sliced bread. You understand what I'm saying? And so, I think when you start to see advertisement like that, and I think most of the candidates used it. I know Brian Benjamin used it as far as his advertisement. Corey Johnson spoke about it, and he used it in his advertisement in reference to becoming comptroller. Brad was there his feet was in the street. And so I didn't see any commercials with Brad. And this once again,
No,
this
I
is
didn't
when
see
we're
any
talking about the
commercials.
numbers. This is right. This is when we're talking about putting your money where your mouth is. I didn't see any commercials from him. I didn't see his family. I didn't see nothing. He has just been around and
He
been
just
on his
slid into home base. I
he's on
said,
his street game. He is on his street game. And you know, he works with the advocates, gathering for justice, Justice NYC. He is there with those advocates, and those advocates organizations have massive reach, massive, and
well, it shows.
of course, and some of these other candidates didn't tie themselves to that, weren't there when their sleeves rolled up.
Well, this made a difference. They understand the power in this particular position as the city comptroller. So this is major. You talking about our pensions? There's so many parts to this. So it'll be interesting to see because this is round one. Lander didn't get 50 plus 1, so
but he's significant. He is significantly in the lead, right? I mean, it's not like the mayor's race where it's 33-30 or 31-30. He's 31-22. Corey will have to do some major stepping.
Yeah.
Some major stepping to to really. And then we're talking about the early votes or the mail-ins or what have you. That may only increase. I don't think it would decrease, but we'll see. We won't know until June, right? June sometime.
Well, July.
Excuse me, July sometime, right?
Yeah, we're hoping it's early July, but the word on the street is that it'll be the second week in July. So everyone is going to be waiting with bated breath, as they say, for another one, which was quite interesting. I'm going to bring it home a little bit to the borough where I reside because I was quite shocked when I saw how close my borough president is in this race with Elizabeth Crawley. This is just uncomfortably close.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's happening there, and we'll see what the mail-in ballots bring, but this is too close for comfort. And John is saying it's still early. Yeah, it's still early. So, for those races that are real close, I know everybody is checking it out. And I was curious.
John needs to elaborate on that. Still early for what? Still early for those who are in the lead to advance a bigger lead, or it's still early that those who are not in the lead to catch up? That those are different points of view, right? And maybe we should do away with all this who won and who didn't win, and let's just wait till we get a winner and then announce that.
Well, there's no who won. No one's saying anybody won. Everyone's talking about who's in the front. Who's the front runner as of now.
But if you get over 50%, then that's that, right?
Well, then there are a few races who did get that, so they're clearly in the lead. Like I'll go to one of my friends who has. Let me scroll down.
Oh, you know what? We need to check. Can we check whether Mr. John Rodriguez won his judgeship out
in Brooklyn?
In the Bronx. In the Bronx.
In the Bronx. I was in the Bronx. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just have to pause, and I'm celebrating Natasha Williams. That is my candidate. Right now, she is leading. It wasn't a clear 50, but we're hopeful that once all of the votes are in. But I want to show you what one of the candidates who did get a clear 50%, what it looks like. So those are the winners. Once you got the 50 plus 1.
Right, you're good.
You're good. You don't have to worry about it. And then you wanted to check on John. We'll do that. Let me just go here. 26. No, wrong one. But let me go to the judges.
Real time.
Yeah, and then I'll bring back to the other ones because a couple of my folks did get 50% in the New York City Council. Do you know which?
I think I want to say the 80s and the 80s. I want to say somewhere in there. John Rodriguez. I see Jose Rodriguez. No, I see a Jose Rodriguez 7 point. Maybe that's the wrong one, but we can wait. Let me see. Hey guys, we're doing this real time to see what's going on. Jose Rodriguez. I wonder if they messed up his name, but go ahead.
No, they can't mess up your name.
Hey, look, I've seen crazier things.
It has to be right on the ballot.
We have to go through all of them. I don't care. I didn't get a phone call, so.
because it's still early. So let's see.
No, not there.
Not here. Okay. Well,
Well, once you see Elliot Engel, so then I know that's
and I have a girlfriend that's in this race too that I didn't get a
not there
call.
either. I wonder what. Well, we can't spend the whole time going
We
through.
no we but this is what you can do for those who are interested in
Right.
finding out. You just go to the Board of Election enrboenyc.us if you want to find out where this is. And maybe I'll even put it in the chat. But
Yeah. I think that would be something that folks would kind of want to see.
because we want to know Vanessa Gibson.
Yeah. Oh, Vanessa. See, that's big, right? I
Good.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. There's some names there that I'm seeing. There's some names. All right. I don't see anybody else in that bracket. We're
It's
almost
only a
done,
few more.
folks.
Only a few more. We're trying to find our people. But, these are important because it's the first time we're doing ranked choice voting. So how this plays out, because some people forget about the judicial
Oh
portion.
no, without a question. And as we talk about the local laws and the local power plays are the one that do everything. I mean, that's where it begins and that's where it ends. In that area. Well,
Exactly.
I can't recall what district as we sit here now, but I am glad to say that Mr. Braggs is in the lead as far as the district attorney is concerned. I don't recall him making any promises in reference to police reform, but clearly that is going to be on the table when it comes down to what people want, right? He's been around, he was at the AG's office, he's been around for some time, and people are going to expect him to do some courageous things. I mean, you can't tout you from Harlem and not be about the people. And so it'll be interesting to see what his staff is made of. Will he go out with the old and bring in some new? How does that look? And given that New York City is having having a facelift, how does he implement the facelift in his office? That'll really be something to think about. Will we? Hey, look, Ed might get a call. We may not see Ed anymore. He may have to come back in house. You know what I mean? I don't put it past that situation happening because you got to fill these positions with people that you trust. And there's not a lot of people that you trust and people that have your back and not whispering about you. And even with the mayor race, with Eric Adams being in the lead, he's gonna have to fulfill those seats. And if he's the one that goes forward with people that he trusts, and in politics, there's always give and take. So I want to know how much give and how much take he's going to have to, he's going to have to acquiesce to. And as John has said, look, the night is young, but the day grows old very, very quickly. Try judge of civil court county. Let's try that. I think that's what where he was headed, civil court judge.
Oh well, Cassandra won. Yes, that's my district, and she won by a clear landslide. Go, Cassandra. She is a Jack and Jill alum, as a matter of fact. Well, and my soror won. Oh my gosh, this is my
explain to people what Jack and Jill means.
Oh yeah, it's a leadership organization for African American children. But this is my soror. She won. Oh my goodness.
You may have to explain to them what soror means too. You just can't.
Sorority.
I know it's where the cultural and the legal. But you have a civil court judge. That's where you were.
Let me go back over there. I was just getting excited watching that. She did it. Lisa Lewis.
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
We're getting close.
We're getting close to John.
John Rodriguez. Oh, disappointing. Jessica Flores, 35. John Rodriguez, 13. Angel Cruz. Oh, and Verena Powell. I know Verena Powell. Mm-hmm. Used to work in the DA's office. She came in with 19.72.
Wow, because it was two of them. So, wow.
All
Okay.
right. Well, I mean, why? Oh, they have her dark because she's second. She's in second place.
She's
Okay.
in second place. Yeah. And
Wow.
what's significant, this is awesome because Keisha that won, she wasn't being backed by the Democratic Party. She had to run independent. She was kind of
Wow, that's
supported
big.
by
People don't
some
understand
people.
how big. Can you
Yeah.
explain what that means by being backed by a party and how that makes your life easier?
Oh, yeah, it makes your life easier when you have the Democratic leadership that is endorsing you, but they weren't able to do that. So individuals who are part of the leadership gave her endorsements, but that is huge where she is right now. Oop, and then I just want to see this race real quick. Inga won. Okay. Hmm, interesting. And Soma won. All right. There, I was just looking. This was in Queens here, so I wanted to check that out. So the significance of it is that if you have the support of what some people refer to as the machine, it gives you more opportunity to get those votes in because the electorate will be directed to support you. And if you don't have that kind of backing, you're like a little fish in a huge pond. And this is major, major, major for her. I have to call and congratulate her. Bless you,
Thank you.
because that is exciting, and we will definitely be celebrated. She worked hard. It was aggressive and quick doing the race. A lot of fundraising. Eric Clayette is her campaign finance manager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So
Well, one of the things I will say is that the reason why we looked at that, and people may say, "Oh, well, will you go to the mayors and now you're looking at?" The reason why we look at it is because, quite frankly, um, when we talk about local politics, we talk about judges. This is what we're talking about, right? The judge can affect your life one way or the other. The judge can determine whether your lawsuit stays, goes, whether your son is doing 5 years in jail, 5 years in probation. I mean, outside of any statutory constraints. And
mhm.
you hear me and you saw me, like yourself, get excited about certain names because those are names of people that's in our network, people that we know. And it's important to have those relationships because not that they're going to do you a favor, but how do you know whether or not you're getting justice unless you trust the people that you put in power to dispense justice? And that's what it's all about. So when you walk in a courtroom, and unfortunately, good friend, Verena Powell and John Rodriguez lost, you walk in a courtroom and you see them as a judge, you have an understanding of how they think and the way they think. And it may not always go your way, but you know that they're being sincere and true to the issues at hand. And that is important because majority of the time you don't have access to those type of people. I mean, I have access to Alvin Bragg, Eric Garcia,
Mhm.
Clark. A lot of people do not, and it's important to be able to have access, to be able to touch and feel people. As they say, hero ain't nothing but a sandwich, right? I need something real, something that someone or somebody that can affect my life in some way. And so that's
Right.
why we took the time to look through to see who our friends, people that we know, are involved in a variety of races to see whether or not they came out victorious.
Absolutely. And when you get engaged, then you really start to know the names of the people that represent you. And it means a lot. It means your quality of life. It means healthcare opportunities for funding in your community. It means the roads and the streets you drive on, the transportation that you take. Like, this is important. People get frustrated with the system. Oh, it doesn't matter. They're going to. No, it does matter. Every vote counts. And in this race, I kept saying this was going to be very close, and it would be a matter of a couple of hundred votes that will make the difference. And with ranked choice voting, a whole new system, when they reallocate these votes, it's going to be very interesting to see where the dust settles. So, being involved in what's happening in your community, it's important. You don't have to love politics. You don't have to want to run for office, but you should know the people that are representing your thoughts, your concerns, the issues that affect you and your family. So that's why we always spend time to go over this so you're familiar with names. Some people went into the ballot and they didn't know half of the names on the list.
You know
It's
what,
a
Dr. Grant?
two-part ballot.
I'm sorry, Dr. Grant. Can you go back as you talk? Can you go back to the site that you were at? I wanted to see something for the DA race. I wanted to see if a certain name was there because this person was a write-in, and I saw them giving stickers and things out in the street, and unfortunately, it wasn't professional at all. But I would like
Really?
to see who. Oh yeah, the stickers were crooked and upside down, and it was just a whole bunch of things that were just like, you got to give me a break.
Oh.
And yeah, I wanted to see whether or not this individual even got any percentage points. Sometimes, the rank choice people bringing their names just so they can be heard and be seen, and somebody may vote for them and distract from someone else. And we always have to be careful of that. But I was impressed by those who were sincere, like Isaac Wright and Paperboy Love Prince, that was sincere in their efforts. And then I wanted to see this individual who, may or may not have been sincere with their efforts, in,
Okay,
in,
I'll
in,
take a
in
look.
running for district attorney in Manhattan. Like, what I mean, like, you got to really, really put your foot down on that one. There's no just coming in just to come on in. But sometimes people do that. Um,
Yeah, I'll go back
this is for
to
judge right here. Is this a judge position? Oh yeah,
no, no.
oh
So you wanted to see for district attorney?
right, yes. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Okay, so his name never even made it on to. I guess you didn't get any percentage points if you never made it on to here. But there were definitely people handing out flyers and doing things of that nature for him, and for the position of of district attorney, and his name never even made it.
Well, he could have been in one of the write-ins. There's,
Oh, so the
we,
writing is 0.13%. Oh, so he could have been a filler. They don't break it down. Oh, they don't break it down who that person. Oh, all right.
yeah,
Yes, he
yeah,
is. He
yeah,
is one of the write-ins. He is one of the write-ins. So
yeah.
yeah.
They don't give you the list of the write-ins. That would be interesting to see that, but being effective with time and resources, they don't even bother to put that in. So this is just one part of the news. There's more going on in the news. Definitely stay connected with finding out, where your candidates are and what's happening in your community, because this is who will be in office for a considerable amount of time.
And
And
can I say one more thing? One more thing
sure.
before you continue. Everybody, you have to be aware. Those who are listening and can hear my voice. Today, I went to Queens Court. The courts are starting to open up. So if you have any summonses, any DAT, which are the desk appearance tickets for not wearing your mask, for being at a party, out at beyond the curfew, arrested for disorderly conduct or harassment, obstruction of governmental justice, falsely arrested, whatever it is, whether you decide to see a lawyer like myself, to sue the NYPD, or do anything else, file a complaint with the Civil Complaint Review Board, known as CCRB, you make sure that you have to go to court to answer those summons, because the courts are slowly opening up,
Mm.
and you're not going to get a PBA announcement. And most of us don't even have regular TV. We have cable, so it's not going to be on channel 11 or channel 5. It's 10 o'clock. Where your children are. It's not going to be like, oh, the courts are reopened, so make
Oh
sure you get your
Lord.
summons out. That's not going to happen. I say it with a straight face, because the warrant will hit you with a straight face and no chaser as you go to do something else. And next thing you know, they're taking you in at the inopportune time, right? Here they come with that situation. So as the courts slowly open, take heed that they are slowly opening. Whatever numbers you have that you need to call to check on your case, I don't care if you have a public defender, legal aid, or as they say around the way, a paid attorney. Don't leave it up to them. Just don't leave it up to them to make the call for you. You make your own call, because you have to be responsible for yourself and have a plan for yourself.
Absolutely. And that's a note. You talked about this before, along with Mr. Pachado, on the fact that sometimes we create a worse scenario than already being pulled over when you have these outstanding warrants for something that you could have just handled if you paid a fine or if you showed up. So we can't underscore that enough, because we don't want to see any other victims of unfortunate police misconduct. So, with that being said, we have some other issues in the news, Mr. Russell, that people are concerned about. And I think we are starting to see across the country some cases popping up around COVID and being forced to take the vaccine, what that looks like, what sort of recourse do people have? We spent a whole show talking about knowing your rights as an employee. If you read your employee manual, what the employer has to say. And in the last couple of minutes, we're going to touch on this case in New York City. I know there were some other cases across the country, correct?
Yes. In Texas. So this is the case in New York City, but let's put that in abeyance. But I want you to leave the caption there. In Texas, that was one of the first cases that were filed where employer was trying to mandate his employees getting the vaccine. And those particular plaintiffs fought against it, saying that since the vaccine was rushed through the process, the Food, Drug, and Administrative process, that we don't know if it's valid. And given that the employer did not advise the employee that they have an option not to take it, that's one of the guidelines under the FDA approval, that you have an option not to take it, that that their rights were violated. Let me just read what it was saying. It says, it wanted to reemphasize the reason we were making the COVID-19 vaccine mandatory. So this is one company. They were saying that the reason why they were making it mandatory, this was a health institution, is to keep everybody healthy within and away from COVID within the actual facility. And I'm reading from the article, what the plaintiffs were saying was that there is called the EUA, which is the Emergency Use Authorization. And it says that if certain things do not happen from a scientific standpoint and certain standards and approval is not given, or they believe is rushed, then they cannot be forced to take a vaccine, and the employee has to have the opportunity to weigh the potential risk and benefits. And without that process happening, then you can't force someone to have the vaccine. Now, what is interesting is that clearly some companies are state-run government, and private companies have their own way of doing business. And it is interesting to see how the two will play against each other as to what a state agency can force you to do and what a private agency can force you to do. And so why do I say that? When you look at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, what we know as the EEOC, we look to them for guidance. And in these particular cases, what the EEOC has said, and I'll quote from one article, businesses generally may inquire workers who enter a physical work site to receive a COVID-19 vaccine without running afoul of federal workplace anti-discrimination laws. So what the EEOC has done, they kind of kicked it down the can. They said, kick the can down the road, right? If they are not violating workplace anti-discrimination laws, then you can go ahead and do it. You can mandate that. Two laws off the top of my head come into play is the American Disability Act and your rights to practice religious freedom, religious discrimination. So if you follow a faith or you're part of a religious organization that don't believe in vaccines and taking medicine, and you believe in a holistic approach, then you're violating one of the tenets of your civil rights, right? Discrimination, religious discrimination. So you can't force me to do that. And if you are someone that you have a disability, right? This falls into that, right? You can't force me to do that. That's a violation again, of Title VII. That's a violation of the ADA. So what does the EEOC says? Well, in those particular situations, you have to do what we always do. You have to accommodate. You have to accommodate those that may refuse to take this vaccine. I'm looking at another article that's surrounding it because I don't know everything, right? I mean, I wish I did. I don't, right?
Imagine that.
And the plaintiffs in this case, now let me tell you, in the case in Texas, the federal court did dismiss the case. They said, look, you don't have, we dismiss it because the EUA, there's exceptions to that, right? And the drug was eventually FDA approved. And so now you have no standing, right? But one of the judges, right? The judges in Texas said he's uphold the hospital system's mandatory COVID-19 vaccine policy by dismissing a lawsuit that claimed vaccines against the coronavirus are experimental. So the way the court was to get around that to say is no, it's not experimental. These vaccines exist and they work. So the plaintiffs argued that the hospital requirement violated public policy since COVID-19 vaccines were distributed under the Food and Drug Administration's emergency use EUA rather than the FDA's usual process. So they attacked the process, saying that the process was not the normal process, so therefore we shouldn't have to follow it. And obviously the courts disagree with that and said that no. And the courts agreed that safety of the employees come first and of other co-workers. And so now let me go back to the EEOC, because I read the anti-discriminatory aspect of it. And so the EEOC once again says business generally may require workers who enter a physical work site to receive COVID-19 vaccinations without running afoul of federal workplace anti-discrimination laws, such as Americans with Disability Acts. But then they go, however, employers must consider the reasonable accommodation for workers who refuse a vaccine for religious or disability-related reasons. So you may not violate the act itself, but if I have some other reasons, let's say, I have a heart murmur and the medication is known to enlarge the heart. Well, I'm not going to avail myself to that, right? So disability-related reasons, unless such accommodation poses an undue hardship on the employer's operation. So you can see how in a hospital that would create an undue hardship. But if you work for Amazon, right? If you work for Federal Express, it's not going to create an undue hardship, right? It's your truck, is a couple of employees. You're not facing the public in that sense on a day-to-day, right? So employers also should note that the operational safety and health administrator in state and local authorities may have different requirements. So it's very much in flux. I say all that is very much in flux. And then let me go on, right? You have people that are unionized. Their collective bargaining agreement does not include COVID-19 vaccine, right? So now you got folks that saying, wait a minute, my collective bargaining agreement don't say nothing about that. And I don't have to get that. Right?
Yeah, this is something. Liz Wilson said this is interesting. Thanks for tuning in. And John, let me go back to your comment. You said most people don't know the science of this new tech vax, but believes whatever's on the web. Interesting enough. And hey, Ricardo Grandison, the problem for the plaintiffs in the hospital case is that they were already required to take other vaccines and had taken them. A temporary accommodation would have been a good gesture on the part of the hospital.
Yes.
Interesting. Great to see you, my brother.
Yes. And that's what these articles speak to a degree. But we have to understand, like when we talk about union, we're talking about maybe school teachers, right? We're not talking about the guy in the construction site, right? So the school teacher says, hey, look, I don't need to do that. But what all these articles are not talking about, before we get to the Queen's article, is what happens if it's mandatory and the person takes it and has an adverse reaction. Can they now sue the company? They die from it. They have an enlarged heart. Something happens to them. They're not going to go after they may go after Pfizer or what was the other, Moderna. They may do that. But you guess what? Mom and pop store is going to be on that caption too. Because, Amazon is going to be on that caption too. Hospital is going to be on that caption too. FedEx is going to be on that caption too. UPS is going to be on that caption too. Bronx District Attorney's Office, any District Attorney's Office is going to be on that caption too, because you said it was mandatory. And something happened to me because of that. That's what we're not talking about, which is also out there. So companies have to be aware of the adverse liability or adverse reaction that can happen to someone that can lead to liability. And they have to say, do we really want to do this?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Push a pin in that one because we're just seeing the start of this. The world is opening back up. New York State, New York City, other states and cities. This is an issue for people. We talked about it before. Not everyone is comfortable going back into their places of employment. They were able to survive for almost a year virtually, so they're trying to hang on to that. And it's going to be interesting how all of this litigation plays out.
And if I can, if you go back to the story, right? So we got a couple of minutes, we have 5 minutes left. So let's round robin to that story. What's interesting about that story is that you have two women, they're trying to get pregnant, right? They're using, what is it called? I don't want to say artificial insemination, but in vitro,
In
right?
vitro.
Yeah, they're using in vitro, right? And the company is saying that they have to get vaccinated, right? And so they're saying we don't want to do that. So they put them on furlough. But that same company controls their health insurance. Their health insurance is helping them become pregnant. And so now you got this catch 22. The company is saying you got to do it. So they're in fear that that one, it can hurt their chances of conceiving. Two, they're in fear that because they work for the company and they have health insurance, will their health insurance be pulled because they're not working, or will the insurer stop giving them resources so they can move forward because they're not following the mandate that the company has? And who wants to live under that umbrella? And I say all this to say that just today on the news, there was a story that spoke to how America are losing employees. Employees are like saying, no mas, I'm not down with this. I'm not working 7 days a week. I'm not working 6 days a week. I'm not doing it. Mostly in the labor intense type of, housekeeping, Amazon, but even some of the places, more formal places like Kickstart, some of these other places, eHarmony, some of these other places, like, you know what? People are vying for, like, you got me for 4 days, bro. You got me for 4 days and I'm out. 4. No more 5. You got me for 4. Like, the COVID has shifted the game. I'm working from home. You got me for 4. You bleed into my personal time, but you get no more than 4. And companies are starting to see that. And Kickstart is one because they looked at this company, how that CEO was saying, hey, look, we're shifting to a 4-day work week. And we're shifting to a 4-day work week most likely. And people will not have to be in here every day. It might be some rotation. You're here in 1 week and then another group is in another week, because productivity is up. What do I care if it's 12 hours over 4 days or whether it is 8 hours over 5 days? If productivity is up, that's what I care. And if productivity is up, that means that your employee is loving their life, loving their work, personal life balance. And so you add mandatory vaccinations, people are not going back to work because they're like, I'm working too hard and working too long. And the whole world is getting redefined on the American side. On the American side, because I think the Europeans have already defined certain things. They work 4 days a week. They get that Friday or that Monday off. They take, Italy nap time, places like that. What they call a siesta, right? Yeah, we better get with it.
Can you imagine? New York has enough challenges. If we start taking siestas, I don't know what's going to get done. But anyway, that's just my commentary on the sidebar. We appreciate all of you, Ricardo, Liz, John, Wayne. Who else has been here? Richard, Kevin, Robert. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for tuning into the show. We're here 4 p.m. Eastern Standard every Wednesday. We thank you for being a part of the dialogue. This is how we share and where the legal meets the cultural, so you can apply it to your own life. Be aware of what's going on. Just don't be a bystander in this thing called life. Actively engage and know what's happening, how you can contribute to making this world we live in better, and to contribute to shows like this that bring you information that can really help us all grow and be better with our legal experts. You get a lot of good wisdom and advice. You didn't retain them. You have to retain them officially if you have a situation, but you can do that directly. You see their website scrolling across the screen. You can purchase Cardiac Arrest book at cardiacarrestbook.net, law office of edwardpichardo.com, and roycerussellesq.com. So thank you again for tuning in and being a part of the show. Any final words before we sign off, Mr. Russell?
Well, I want everybody to stay safe, take care, and I'll see you on our next episode next week. Some crazy things are happening next week. You might want to catch it.
Yes, countdown to somebody's birthday. Bye-bye, everyone.
Oh, is that